Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Second Screeners with Tim Arthur and Ryan Boyles.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we'll be talking about the new Batman movie, The Dark Knight, and
well, you know what? I think we flubbed the opening again. So we are in a time warp, folks. We apparently fell into a wormhole, and the host you're used to seeing was replaced with this fine gentleman. His name's Tim Arthur.
Hey, everyone. How are you?
So we changed it up today, folks, for this week's episode of Week's End. Graham, I don't know if you heard the news last week, but he's stepping down as CEO of Gramazon. And it's been a really, it's a busy week. He's taking some time off. I think he's spending some time on his yacht in the down in the Caribbean, in the Virgin Isles. And really he's got a lot on his plate to get all of that in order. And so we thought we would invite on a guest host, and I wanted to invite on my good friend, Tim Arthur, who, Tim, you and I, once upon a time, were like podcast buddies. And, we were a part of a podcast network. What was that called? What was that?
TV Talk.
TV Talk. And we used to, every night we had like this side hustle where we were like snarky TV reviewers for shows like, The Walking Dead and
Warehouse 13.
Warehouse 13. That was my favorite. You know what? And I think Warehouse 13 is an underrated gem. And, I think a lot of people during the pandemic have, of course, been.
Don't forget Gotham.
Well,
don't forget Gotham.
Too.
Yeah.
I think during the pandemic, lots of folks go back to the old shows to binge them. I think Warehouse 13 might be a good one to put on the list.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ryan, thanks for asking me to join you. And, we've been trying to talk to Graham, but the internet connection on his yacht is a little spotty.
Sure.
So I'm trying to get as many pointers, now that he's stepped down, I'm trying to get as many pointers from him as possible, and stepping in to fill his shoes this week. And the communication's been kind of tough. Because
I think it's intentional. I think he was doing one of those theatrical things that he's where he's just like faking that it was breaking up so he could get back to like watching Star Trek TNG or what, something like that. I don't know. But Graham will be back next week, folks. Yes. We just wanted to have a bit of fun, and as Graham would say, the show must go on. So thanks so much for coming on, Tim.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, as we usually do, this show is all about nerding out about what you nerd out about. And so this week we don't really have an agenda. I thought one thing that I wanted to remind folks of, though, first and foremost, is we will also have a bit of a different schedule next week. And there's a good reason, folks. The reason is that we are going to do a special show on February 18th for the landing of the NASA Perseverance Mars rover. Really excited about that. So we're going to have a couple of special guests on that broadcast to cover the landing on the 18th. So that will be at a special time and obviously a special day. I think they've got a countdown clock on here. That's why I was bringing up the NASA Perseverance website. Here we go. This was the really cool landing rover. And it also, the cool thing we were talking about last week, I don't know if you saw this, Tim, but the Perseverance is not just a rover. It also has a unit that's going to pop off and basically an excursion helicopter. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing.
It's really cool.
We're really excited about this. We were geeking out with our friend who's an archivist, Max Campbell, on last week's show, and he's going to be one of our special guests that joins us on the stream on the 18th. And you see here from the countdown, 5 days, 23 hours, 48 minutes, countdown to Mars. I think you could follow along with the countdown to Mars hashtag on Twitter, and they're going to be, of course, streaming the action. I think they're going to be doing mission profiles and all kinds of like talking about what's going to happen on the mission, what to expect 2 days in advance. So there's going to be like 3 or 4 days chock full of content that NASA and a lot of the folks involved are going to be streaming. So you can tune in starting on Monday and Tuesday to see some of that, and then on the 18th we'll be covering The Landing live. Come on back. All right.
Hey, Ryan, I wanted to ask you, have you been watching WandaVision?
I have. I'm all caught up. And we touched, Graham and I touched on, like, it wasn't quite clicking for me at first, but now I kind of see that obviously they had a master plan with it tying into the bigger, not only the Marvel MCU, but it looks like there's some multiverse stuff at play, right?
Yeah. I'm still 1 week behind, but I actually had to, like you, when I first started watching it, I enjoyed the first episode, but I actually had to go back again and watch episodes 1 and 2 again. And it did kind of click for me. And going through, I'm really enjoying it. I really like where they're going with it. Yeah.
Well, I must be, if you're talking about, like, they release on Thursdays, right? So there's a new episode available now that I haven't watched either. So, but it's amazing to see kind of some of the characters that are new or related to characters that we know from the feature films that are coming into play with this the Sword organization. So it's not just, the MCU has been, like, really focused on the Shield kind of story, or how that plays out with Hydra. But I think it's interesting to see other parts of the Marvel universe come into play.
Yeah.
Me, you read a lot of the comic books, just like I was a huge X-Men fan. I don't know what Marvel books have you read?
I was a big Spider-Man guy, which typically, Sony's had that property for so long,
Sure.
But the Hulk, I was a big Hulk guy, in growing up in the late 70s with the TV show, Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby. So really the Hulk, X-Men probably more so, later in high school as I started getting more into the thematic. There's a lot of themes in X-Men that are a little bit deeper than some of the other books like Spider-Man and whatnot. But yeah, and kind of all over the place.
I always found that X-Men, it had that undercurrent with, like you said, more like tied to, like, the commentary, societal commentary. But they also, for me, X-Men always had those. I got into the mini series and the crossover events, like the big events that they had. I enjoyed those more than things that the Avengers were doing for whatever reason. I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer, but for me, I enjoyed, a lot of those things that, took place. So I'm excited to see more crossover with the X-Men. And of course, there's been all this debate about how, Scarlet Witch, AKA Wanda, she's a mutant. So she's really, when you think about it, she's coming from, like, that X-Men side of the house more so than some of the other superpowered heroes. And her brother, Quicksilver, Pietro, who apparently died in the films, but might be back. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched last week's episode. It's interesting because a different Pietro is the one from the Fox X-Men franchise is the guy who showed up at the door.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of interesting how they're weaving all this together now.
Yeah, but Kevin Feige's got his hands all over it, so you can see how it's all kind of tying together now.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited for it now more than ever. And I don't know if you are a fellow sports ball fan like Graham and I, but during the Super Bowl, one of the only real entertainment trailers that they had in the whole, what's usually chock full of, like, movie trailers, I would say the biggest trailer of the night was Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm really excited about that one too.
Yeah. There was another one. There was another, like, a Disney animated film that's coming the something Raja and the Dragon.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to make of that, but I know you're a big Disney guy though. So for me, I look at it and I'm
it's the trifecta now, man. You got Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney.
It's all about synergy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk also about a story. We want to get into some gaming because you're a big gamer. I would say bigger gamer than me. I feel like I like to talk about games more than I actually get to have time to spend on them.
You need to have the console to play the game, right?
Well, that's true. I do not. That's one of the sore subjects we're going to get into today. But one of these stories to get into that before we go there, I wanted to also embarrass you and me at the same time.
Oh my goodness!
By bringing up this, I guess we'll call it a Flashback Friday, right? Hashtag Flashback Friday, folks. So this is a photo that came up in my memories. The algorithm saw it fit to bring us together. I guess Facebook knew that you were going to be on the show before I did.
So all I wonder that must be pre-Avett Brothers.
Oh Ryan. Yeah, definitely. This is well, I am wearing plaid,
but there's no, but the beard.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Greg! My goodness, this is so long ago.
And that was quite a haircut. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Ing. I'm the first guy there with the cheese grin and nice almost mullet, I think. Greg Ing, who is I always think of him as the host of Freezer Burns. He used to do this video podcast vlog show on YouTube that was all about him being a tester for frozen foods. And he doesn't do that anymore, but he's awesome guy. Then there's you, and we were doing second screeners at the time,
mm-hmm.
right?
Maybe before that.
It might have been an idea at the time, right?
Yeah.
And then Damon Nolan. And so Damon and you and I were, at the time, it was kind of like when people were starting to talk about how social media and second screens
mm-hmm.
were starting to really influence
mm-hmm.
how people consume entertainment. And I mean, this was 9 years ago. So we did a TV spot on, I think, our local NBC program, and it was like a tech segment on their My Carolina Today show or something like
mm-hmm.
that. It was like I think we were like the after school special at like 4 p.m.
Yeah, I don't even know if they actually broadcasted this.
It
was like a discussion.
It might have been buried on their website with a bunch of ads, but I just wanted to also say that, do you remember? I was also, this is like back when we used to put on the like Gen 1 version 1 Instagram filters on all of our photos because we thought it looked cool. So that's what we've got the sepia with the little fringe border.
I think that might be Sunrise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. I just thought that was interesting to see, and look at where we are now with like, I mean, it's crazy.
Got longer hair. I
don't mean physically. We could talk about like our creaking bones all day long, but I just mean like with the way that entertainment, and everything has evolved to today.
Just heard it today that Americans are on their phones and mobile devices more than they watch TV now. So it has. Well,
that's no shock. I think we were predicting that was the next. That's what was in progress back then, and this was like early days before, like, Netflix was still mailing us DVDs. They were testing, could they stream, and so it was very early days, but everybody was trying to put out like almost like. It was like second screen apps were like a replacement for DVD special features almost, because that was the way that people were, some of the movie franchises and sporting events were like testing like every feature that they wanted to give you would be its own app on your phone. That's that was the trend at the time anyway.
Well, there were some really cool apps that tried to engage you in that way. And what was the Get Glue? That was the one that would send us.
Get Glue was the one that I thought was really cool because not only did it kind of was trying to say that it wanted to be the platform where you would check into a show. It was like, Foursquare for TV. And then you would have your conversation about the show with a bunch of fans like-minded people in one place, like a chat room. And then I thought this was the coolest thing, based on the badges that you would unlock, because at the time every app was all about giving, they were copying Foursquare and Gowalla and all those early day, social check-in geolocation apps. They would mail you stickers that were like, based on the TV show or the movie. And I geeked out about that because I geek out about stickers.
Yeah. I still have my stickers.
Really cool stuff. We'll have to dig those out. We've got so much old swag like that. We've been around this space so long, but what you got there?
So this is my show and tell of the week, and really cheesy, but it's my the Child Echo stand.
Oh wow. Okay. I was gonna say, like, I've seen the Bluetooth speakers and they're always they're junk, but that's interesting. It's like it's the same as I saw, now that they've caught up with the licensing with Mandalorian, you see the Child wrappered on everything from your AirPods to your, whatever, you name it. Why don't we talk about, let's jump into gaming, because I wanted to show this story, which I just thought, I don't like to glom on when stuff isn't going well, but I just think it's ironic that there's this story that from, I think, yesterday or the day before, that CD Projekt Red, which is the company that put out Cyberpunk 2077, which has had problems, which we won't get into, but this game that is essentially about being a cool cyber hacker, like that's literally what you do in the game, is you're a criminal in most cases, whether you're a corporate criminal or a nomad, or you're just a straight up like neon gangster. The game itself was hacked and they're being held for ransom. So I guess they have some of our data, and the weird thing is they're saying we don't negotiate and we're not going to pay the ransom. So what next?
Nothing but problems.
I know, right? So it's kind of silly, but they've threatened to dump. It's just they're saying that it's documents actually just related to the company with their with their like accounting records or administration type records. So it doesn't say that it's like a user. There's no user information that's been compromised. But I couldn't pass that up because it's so ironic. But here's the thing: I haven't played the game very much, and only because I'm still playing. My primary console is a PlayStation 5. PlayStation 4. I haven't gotten a 5 yet, and that was the big, controversy, is that they released it multi-platform, but apparently, if you ain't got a next-gen console or PC, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Is this a game you've played? I know you've gotten you have a PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah, I do. I haven't played it yet. And actually, I am primarily still playing PlayStation 4 games on my PlayStation 5, and I can go into why. But
I would love to hear more about that, because it seems like there's more. I've noticed that the transition from this generation to the next generation in this particular case, there's obviously been a lot more emphasis on how seamless that's going to be. Like, what's the network, what's the sort of the network play, and how that's going to become seamless between platforms or between even like, companies. There's certain games that they're really now opening the door so that an Xbox person can play a PS5 person.
Cross-platform communication. Yep. Yeah, exactly. But
is there a benefit to this, or is it just convenience?
Well, I think there's a benefit, right? Because if you're talking about a game franchise like Call of Duty, you've got a tremendous amount of people that play on both the Xbox One, the new Xbox, and PlayStation platforms. So allowing those users to, communicate and play, cross-platform would be kind of cool for the franchise. I think it opens the door, but I can see why you're going to want to limit it, right? why would you go to that camp versus stay with this
Well,
platform?
that's what I'm curious about. Is you're saying that you're actually playing the older games on the new system,
Oh,
and so
well,
what is why does that
let me tell you
matter?
why. So the price tag, right? There's a couple of
Oh, okay.
barriers. There's a couple of barriers to getting into the PlayStation 5. First is getting one,
Right.
which if you're technically adept, which apparently you're not, you
Uh,
can kind of get one. Yeah. But anyways, you got to kind of literally, long story short, over the holiday season and continuing on, the demand is there, and e-commerce platforms have really been hammered by bots trying to buy these and resell them on eBay.
yeah.
And to get around this type of thing, retailers are using trickery and a lot of different tactics to defeat that. They'll put it up on the site and yank it right down saying it's sold out, so everybody goes away for a while, and then they trickle it back up. So they drip them out, So really the key to getting one is following the right people on Twitter so that, people in the know when they're actually available on the sites and being persistent. So when it's sold out, it doesn't necessarily mean it's sold out. It may be, but stick with it for a while, you might get one. And that's how I got mine at Target. Secondly, the reason the challenge to getting a PlayStation, secondly, is the price. It's expensive. I got the disc-based version, which I believe was $4.99. Maybe I forget how much. It was a lot of money, and the reason I got the disc-based version is because I've got a lot of PlayStation 4 games, and I was pleased, and this is why I've been playing a lot of PlayStation 4 games, that when you buy a PS5 and you are a PlayStation Plus member,
Mm-hmm.
they have available to those that bought the PS5 it's called the PlayStation 4 collection. And it's like 30 to 40 games that you can download. It's the full version of the game. And I've got Days Gone and Fallout 4 and Dark Souls 3 and a bunch of top tier games. The Last of Us Part 2, I think, is on there, maybe. A bunch of AAA top tier games for free because I'm a PlayStation Plus member and because I bought a PlayStation 5. And you can't do that. You can't get those on a PlayStation 4 for free.
Now,
So
is that a temporary
I don't know.
incentive, or
I don't know.
how do you see that?
I don't know.
Because that was one of the main, going from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4. What I found is that my PlayStation Network account didn't really follow me. Like, they didn't do anything to help you go from one generation to the next, or even just your account with how you play on one system or another. There was no linkage. It was almost like you had to like re-up on the new console, and that was it.
Yeah.
And all of the freebies, it was purely just, PlayStation, store promotional discounts and things like that. It didn't actually help you with your gameplay or with, maybe you want to, like you said, keep playing that same game on just different hardware.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if it's temporary or if it was a promotional thing, but I was not even aware of it when I bought the PS5. I was just wanting a next-gen platform that I knew I could play my existing PlayStation 4 games on, my disc-based games. So, that's what I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of Days Gone, which, if you haven't played it, it's an incredibly long game.
Mm-hmm.
To the point of I'm ready for it to be over, but yet I find myself going back because it's just so long.
Are you going back because you're playing more of the like side missions, or you're engrossed in the story, or what motivates you on that one?
When you go through, the story actually unlocks missions as you go through, and they're kind of necessary missions. And I've probably got 45, 50 hours into this game, and it's not, I don't even know how far I am into this game. And I did some research, and they say it's about a 60-hour game, which is pretty hefty. But it gets a little mundane after a while, but I'm a completist, and I'm like, I gotta finish.
Okay, so you're checking boxes. Okay.
Yeah,
because the reason that I'm asking, though, is because what I've found is that the games that I'm going back to and trying to finish or return and play again are some games, like even on PlayStation 3 and 4, that are story based that like I went back and I just recently finished the game Life is Strange. I played there's a game called I don't know if I'm getting this totally right, but it's basically What's the Deal with Edith Finch.
Okay.
And they're very like they're very much about like choose your own adventure,
Oh, cool.
and you know basically it's like an immersive movie almost where you're choosing things that it's not about fighting or flying an airplane. It's more about like a literal like a novel come to life, which I have found really fascinating.
Yeah.
To like complement what I enjoy by playing like platformers, like the latest Star Wars game.
Yeah. 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 No, but so that's kind of been my experience with. I actually have one of the PS5 games. I've got the new the Spider-Man Miles Morales game.
Yeah.
My son has played and beat the game already, but I haven't even started it because I'm still playing Days Gone. But I'll get there. And hey. So speaking of gaming, and the whole trials and tribulations of the GameStop stock a couple weeks ago or
Oh well.
whatnot,
Yeah.
wanted to get your take on games themselves. Because the PlayStation 5, you can get a digital only version, and you can get a disc based version. And one of the theories is that the model of GameStop is going to not really be successful moving forward if you were to transition completely to a digital medium, because there'd be no physical product to sell. And if you've
Right.
been in one of those stores in a long time, you realize that 90% of what they sell is T-shirts, Funko Pop,
Yeah.
those types of things. What's your thoughts on that?
You know what? I'm of two minds of it, and I was one of the folks that, even though I'm an early adopter of gadgets and I'm curious about how technology works, I
Mhm.
love trying these new things. I still have also there's the Luddite side of my brain that wants the physical media.
Mhm.
And so like the analogy is like with music, I was bought into like the Apple ecosystem with iTunes, but primarily because I felt like the ownership, even of just what you get in an
Mhm.
MP3 or whatever the Apple format was, it felt like you owned that thing, and it wasn't just like a temporary streaming agreement.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I've found that I only buy physical media for music for very exclusive things. I have started collecting some vinyl,
Mhm.
but I only buy it for like the artists that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
And then Spotify has taken over Spotify is my daily
Yeah.
driver. So I wonder if gaming could follow that route. But I'm with you. I will buy the PS5 with the disc drive, because I still want to buy like a 4K special edition
Mhm.
movie as well,
Mhm.
in addition to like having the game disc. And I'm still not. I think even these story games that I'm talking about, they're examples of games that, yes, I'm playing the digital version of that game, but it's a more solitary experience. I'm not playing a first person shooter with like against 40 people.
Yeah.
I think for me there's still an ownership thing that, I don't know. I I still see value in buying the thing that you can hold in your hand, and maybe that's just
Well, I
old
see it.
old Ryan talking.
I'm the same way with books. Honestly, I'm a member of Kindle Unlimited, so I read a lot of books for free, and I also purchase a lot of Kindle books. But if I like a book on the Kindle, probably at least maybe 45, 50% of the time, maybe I might still buy a physical copy of that book to put on my bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
That kind
Well, and maybe like what you're describing with this new PlayStation service and the way it works is maybe there is like a class of games that you're either going to not spend enough time in, or the experience is only something that's going to be temporary, and therefore streaming is fine because it's something you're trying versus something you're maybe committing to. Like if you're committing to a 60-hour game, I don't know. Like I'm thinking there's a difference between like showing up to a rating party to just have fun one night and then a like going through the experience of like a 60-hour storyline that's very, very like personal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, I've still got my stack of PlayStation 3 games up here, that probably half of which I haven't even played through completely.
Well, that's what I was commenting. I organized my game sort of my whole cabinet over here to show off all my old game hardware, and I've got the games stacked in there. And yeah, there's a bunch that you're right. When you talk about the cost of games now, it's all relative because there's a ton of games that you would go buy for $20 and play for a few hours and put down.
Yeah, I know.
So let's wrap up the show by talking about last topic, which is I want to talk about music for a moment. That's not something we spend a lot of time on the show, but I was curious, since we haven't co-hosted a show in quite a little bit, like what is in your playlist, and with your new routine, being at home, you've got quite a number of little folks and not so little folks under your roof now with your routine this past year. Like how are you doing music, and what is like at the top of your playlist?
Sure. Honestly, I stream a lot of music on my Echo Dot and my Echo in my room. Also on my phones through my wireless headset, Spotify primarily.
So are you fully bought into like the Amazon? Like is Amazon the way you're kind of doing your smart home, or are you kind of
Amazon? Yeah, Amazon's my smart home setup. I've got some Wi-Fi switches and whatnot within the house. It's hooked into the thermostat, those types of things. Smart thermostats. I can even check my garage door. Tell Alexa to open up and close my garage door. Things like that. It's really kind of more laziness than anything else. But at the top of my playlist right now, probably the new Foo Fighters album that came out last Friday. It's pretty groovy. I like it. I like it a lot.
Groovy.
It's I don't know. It's literally almost. I'm not a dancer, but it's kind of danceable. It's got a groove to it.
Well, I think this, past 12 months is affecting not just how we live, but how everything is being. So, well, it's affecting everyone, and therefore, like, it's interesting to see how all of these mediums that we talked about on the show are going to evolve. That was the biggest thing. Like, this isn't necessarily just music related, but when you looked at the ads from the Super Bowl, which a lot of people, it's commentary, and if you will, not just that there were notable absences, but my takeaway was that a lot of them were out of touch with reality, meaning they were still trying to entertain without acknowledging like the way that things are different, even just from like the actors that you see in a commercial. Like, it's not like they're living in our world. They're still living in this, like this before times world or future world. Right. And so
like the Cheetos commercial.
Yeah.
I was like, it's Shaggy. And it's Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher,
and maybe that's the point, is that those commercials, those commercials are meant, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, they're trying to distract us and entertain us and make us laugh, but it's hard. It was hard for me to do that. That ad in particular was really like kind of seemed
out of place.
Not just unfunny, but pointless in a way. And but on the music front, I like the new Foo Fighters as well. I also I think I mentioned it gave a shout out when it first came out, but I just got a physical copy, a CD of Langhorne Slim's new album, Strawberry Mansion. And the thing that I think is interesting about it is not that just that it's like soul food in music form. It's really like he has been streaming nonstop like a madman on his Instagram. Like in some weeks it's like a daily thing, and it's just going back to what I was like thinking about with like how an artist is changing the way they do things. Like this whole album, the whole process is like, it's a product of the environment and just thinking about how life is different or how you wish life was. And it's really interesting to me.
Let's go. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. I am not nearly as passionate of an Avid fan as you are,
but I think I can take credit with trying to convert you, right? Like,
no, but I tell you what, I listen to him all the time.
Well, I have to give my weekly plug because Graham expects it. One of the things that I also like music related is that one of the biggest, debates is like, when are we going to be able to safely go to live shows? There's obviously been a lot of angst about like venues and which venues are going to survive and which ones have already, unfortunately, not been able to survive the economic crisis. But it's looking like, I mean, you're here in the Raleigh area with me, just so everybody knows. It looks like Wilmington, which hosts an annual festival, and this is down near the coast in North Carolina. It's an old town on the river, and they host this event called the Azalea Festival. After a couple of reschedules, it looks like they are going to host it in August at the end of August. And it looks like it's for real. They're building a completely new venue to host the concerts in a nice amphitheater. And so I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that we're going to be vaccinated and it's going to happen. Yeah. But, it's been really kind of challenging for people to not be able to get together and experience music live.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's great news. I've never attended that festival, but I'm aware of it, and that's huge in North Carolina. But like you said, latest I heard, and we don't talk politics in this show, but latest I heard is that the numbers for the United States in terms of what's needed for vaccinations, they're hoping to get there by the end of July.
Yeah.
So August might be a real good timeline. So I'm
we'll see. That. I mean, I think it's all dependent on how quickly they can keep on track with getting the shot in your arm. I guess it's an open question. If a third of Americans are saying no, not sure how that plays out. There's also, there's big question marks around these variants that are popping up as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But all we can do is hope for the best.
Well, that's a great question for the viewers too, in terms of comments. What are people listening to? How are people adapting? And getting their fix on for great entertainment and music when we can't physically attend these. Because there's a lot of great things that are being done. All these virtual streams where you're being charged for access to a stream, and the proceeds are going to charity. I think that's great and wonderful. Yeah. But there's nothing that can be that can take away from the experience of music in person.
I agree with that. But I'm also frustrated that the industry hasn't adapted quicker to provide, like, even if you're viewing it as a stopgap, and we've talked about this on the show, Graham and I, but like all these movie delays and not being like, I would happily pay to see the Foo Fighters on a virtual concert. Maybe not $300, but why not do something in the meantime? It doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to attend live a year from now. It just means you're punishing me now because I can't see this film or this artist. And it just seems silly that there's not been, for me, my perception is like all these delays with like, they're talking about delaying Black Widow.
Yeah.
Or no, they actually confirmed Black Widow was going to come out in May, but they're not going to stream it. And so it's like, it seems silly to like, all the James Bond delays like that. They're going to have to reshoot half the movie because they've delayed it for 2 years at this point.
Well, I mean, Dave Grohl, you're listening. Call Pat and Taylor and the guys.
There we go. There we go.
Let's get it together.
Have your people call our people. And if you don't know this, folks, one of Tim's many talents is also as a fireworks engineer. So pyrotechnician is the actual industry term. I just totally made up that other name. But we could have quite a shebang.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks so much for being on the show, Tim.
Ryan, thank you.
Appreciate you stepping in, and it was good to see you on air. Thanks everybody for watching Weeks In. As a reminder, Graham and I, with some other folks, will be doing a special show on the 18th to cover hashtag Countdown to Mars with the landing of the Perseverance rover on the Red Planet, which I've even got my special NASA Red Planet hat on, ready to roll. But we're looking forward to that and more nerdy talk. So,
all right.
Sayonara, folks. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.